A blossoming village is ripe for grander projects that practically beg raiders to try and take what's ours. There's a big mystery building that needs to be fleshed out, a separate construction project in mind that'll be the grandest building the village ever sees, and revamping the front of our base as I transition to the endgame Going Medieval offers. All while playing on max difficulty without pausing after modding raiders to be a lot more persistent. Improving our defenses is the first part of surviving long enough to manage any of that. The armory needs a roof, since weapons and armor stored on racks still decay if they're not covered. I'll also get rid of the walls on one of the flanks here so that enemies can run through this corridor to the defenses on the other side. The end goal is to only ever man one tower so that I never have to split my attention in forces. After that, I can turn my attention to the bottom floor of the mystery building. I saw at least one person guess what it would be after the last episode, but this is going to be the site of our new churches. The two contrasting theologies don't really seem to cause even devout settlers to conflict too much, so hopefully they don't mind sharing a grand building. This bottom half is going to be the Oak Brethren Chapel, hence the natural dirt and wooden features. The current chapels are little more than 2x2 boxes with the bare minimum. In fact, they're nothing more than that. It's a perfect description. But our settlers deserve better. The new chapels are going to have more space, chairs, tables, banners, torches, way more decorations than needed, and finally, the requisite shrines. Everything our villagers need to be faithful and proud. That opening in our defenses has let animals sneak in to try and raid our cellars. Let me rephrase that. That opening in the defenses has provided us with the opportunity for target practice. We're basically trading our vegetables and berries for meat, although William decides to shoot Theodoric in the back. Maybe the angry doctor is a little bit right to be cynical around other people. We have every technology we really want, but I'm going to throw William on research so that we can fill out the rest of the tree. I'll also throw in a merchant stall near the entrance and a cartography table further inside to flesh the base out a bit. The booze cellar is looking good and has plenty inside, although rough wine is still going to take about 3 seasons to turn into fine wine. I'll turn the torches and braziers on and off as needed to keep the temperature between 41 and 50 degrees for optimal fermentation. Spring's proximity means that the tree farm will resume growing soon. It also means I can put in a flax field when surrounded with fences. Our tailor is rapidly running out of material to work and outfits to scrap, a problem that this should help alleviate. I also think that flax is just one of the nicer looking crops, so it's a good choice to be nestled up against the main road. That and the apple orchard should put a smile on the face of everyone that walks by. The Spirit Distillery finishes, letting us make alcohol there from distillery ingredients, which are any kind of fermented booze. That stuff can be used for both medicine and for getting rip-roaring drunk off of moonshine. The cartography table goes in, letting us see the map. I've got no idea how we have the full thing all of a sudden, but I like to imagine the colonists we've accepted have each contributed their own bit. William knows that the Society of Fellows enslaved him to the northwest, and so on. Seeing all the hostile forces out there is a good reminder to beef up our defenses with a walled stronghold that'll eventually be the only way into our base. In much more peaceful news, the Oak Brethren Chapel is not done? Wait, why isn't this a room? Does it need a door? Oh god, it's not going to fit nicely. This is why you don't wing things. Okay, so after looking at it a lot more, the problem is not the lack of doors. You can use stairs down to create a room without needing one. The problem is that there needs to be a wall above the bottom of the stairs here. Fortunately, that's relatively easy to fix by adding a layer of wooden walls here. With that, the Oak Brethren Chapel is actually done. This is leagues better than what they had before. The rest of the village also starts racking up improvements. I unlock skeps to place in the field so that bees can pollinate nearby flowers. Does it work like that? No. Is it efficient? Also no. Will I stop? Highly unlikely. Clement isn't going to stop either. The man's knocking out great helm after great helm. I mean, great's not an actual quality, this one's superior. While stairs down don't need a door to count as a room, stairs up do. That means the Restitution Chapel on top will get a nice little entrance before decorations go in. The skeps we recently unlocked means that we'll be able to harvest beeswax and build the candelabras that need them. The room will need a roof, which actually is going to be really hard to access. The nearby housing can get another staircase in to provide some kind of scaffolding so that builders can get up onto the roof of the church. We've got enough great helms, so Clement switches to plate bodies and knocks it out of the park with the superior one right off the bat. And that huge armor rating and stability means that it'll protect them for hit after hit, which, spoilers from the video title, we're probably going to need. Our soldiers will be able to attack through these with their two-handed weapons, giving us a 3-on-1 against anyone trying to break through. A couple of pillars for stability, and then the floor on top for our archers goes in next. Merlons surround this little archer's nest to give cover in the archer-on-archer fight. The top also gets a couple holes to help our archers shoot down at the raiders lining up before our doors. Ooh, a new cow's here. Female? Female? Please? Let's go! We had a male cow, and now we have a breeding pair once this female cow matures a little bit. They'll hopefully be giving us offspring for years. I'll start her getting trained into pets so that they can help around the base too. We've had that original cow for a little more than a year now, and they're finally close to being trained. The goat's coming along too, but this process takes a long time. Willem finished training the first pet, Tax the cow. Not tax as in what we owe to some king, but as in the name, which is kind of a weird name for a pet. Tax is going to wander through a kitchen, demonstrating that pets don't care about gates or doors. I'll assign Tax to start hauling, meaning that he'll seemingly at random decide to run off and grab something to take to a stockpile. Here, Tax is helping haul some iron nuggets, and will continue doing this to clean the base up. Not before the Ravagers are here to attack us though. These cannibals want human flesh, but they didn't bring archers, so I think they're not going to get their fill. Our defenses aren't fully ready yet. This will at least give us a chance to use auto-equip. Caps get turned to great helms, and everyone gets told to don armor too. They'll run to the front of the base to auto-equip the gear there. Once they do, I draft them and send them to the defenses. The archers line up on the left wall to pepper foes with shots on their approach before moving to the right wall to hold the choke. It works, and our archers start getting shots in while enemies stream through the path and head to the entrance just like planned. Our melee fighters, Cedric and Herbert, can head to the grated doors. I turn my attention back to the archers to have them start moving over now that they've handled the nearby foes. The plan to thin their numbers out seems to be working, but it's not, at all. Apparently, enemies can run through the diagonals of nearby doors. They demonstrate this by mobbing Cedric. Herbert had run to help, and the would-be savior instead follows suit soon after. The men are both just barely alive, but this is getting bad. The enemies are in our base. Our archers move to intercept them, but need to retreat as soon as they do. I told everyone to keep running, but Avoda and Clement stay behind to cover their friends. Avoda was the one who put gaps in the doors that let enemies in. Clement's armor was supposed to protect the absent Cedric and Herbert. Without knowing anything more, he has to assume the worst. Clement manages to flee, but Avoda gets caught out and cut down. She's just barely hanging on to life while raiders move past her too. Oswald does what raiders haven't done before and stabs the unconscious woman, killing her. The others can't see her go down, but they know that she didn't follow them up the stairs while raiders stream after them. Theodric has the best armor and actually steps up. Is that tinges of his bitter nature melting in the face of battle, or a desire for a quick death in the face of these odds? Whatever the case, enemies get on him, but our powerful crossbows keep them from mobbing us, and their forces are just thin enough to finish off. This might have been a costly win, but the armor ultimately came in clutch. Clement's the hero of this battle, even if he thinks that he didn't do anything close to an adequate job. In the end, we lost Avoda and almost lost 2 more. This victory still feels hollow. There's a lot of building, rebuilding, and cleanup to do going forward. Our defenses clearly need to be fixed up, and that Restitutionist church needs to be finished. Avoda might have been a devout Oak Brethren practitioner, but she still wanted her friends to have a magnificent place of worship, and she never quite saw it through. But before all of that, it's time for another funeral. Wallace puts a sarcophagus in near where Mabel's is, although he's not going to be building much in the future. Cedric will eventually take over on that front, but the man's too injured right now. Everyone else can meet at the front to drop their armor off and start the procession over. Cedric offers to carry the body while the rest get going, although they don't get far before exhaustion and stress knock Winna out. Herbert's also going to miss the funeral so that he can at least carry her to bed. The others arrive and lay her to rest. Avoda came here to get medical care from Theodric, though he was never able to heal her ailments and doesn't offer to say much. The others might have otherwise pressed him on it, but he was surprisingly heroic during the actual fight. They back off and instead thank Avoda for taking up building. Little else gets said though. No one was unkind to the woman, but no one else was close to her either. Wallace chooses to wear a bone crown instead of any caps or anything else we have. I'm not sure if I should be worried about that. The sun sets with everyone drinking and playing games in her memory. Despite that, it's bad enough that Willem rebels. Not the best way to turn 34. But speaking from experience, also not the worst. The village is sufficiently self-sufficient that we don't really need to go outside the walls very often, so I'm not going to prioritize hauling the corpses outside of our gates. Cedric can go ahead and take over construction, a move that he's happy to make. While Avoda was content to take it slow and use external scaffolding for the church, Cedric is more direct and immediately sets up scaffolding inside. Next up is a workshop for Herbert to work the needle in. That'll free up space at the front of the base and keep it all close to the flax field and butchery table that give him what he needs to work. Though wow, some things never get old. It seems like Mabel's technique of building from the low ground successfully passed from her to Avoda and now to Cedric. Come to think of it, only the builders have died. Should Cedric be worried? If he dies, I'm considering the job officially cursed. And there's the first new colonist of the episode. Jacosa is also disfigured, which is like half of us at this point. She's also a bit of a lightweight, which isn't very surprising given her size. The woman used to work at an inn, but found breaking up brawls and fixing the chairs she broke over people's backs far more invigorating than cooking. A nasty cooking fire left her far too disfigured to keep working the inn, so she roved out in search of adventure and found herself here at our door. All it takes is Cedric heartily mentioning how often we get attacked and Clement offering to put a great longsword in her hands to make her stick around. The church's scaffolding is ready, so the roof can go in next. After that, some of that front wall will get taken out so that Cedric can put in windows instead, even if Willem tried to get everyone to go with Apple. Oh, and I guess the front defenses can actually get filled in properly so that enemies don't stream in again. That definitely should have been a higher priority. I just like decorating too much in this game. After that's in, the tailoring workshop can get a floor for storage, and a nearby path can get an expansion. Not before the raiders arrive though. There's 34 of them to 9 of us, meaning that we're almost outnumbered 4-1. The armory sees more use, though I realize after this that I should be drafting everyone and moving them near it first. Then I can do this so that their hats don't get scattered across the base. After that, everyone heads to the defenses properly for the first time. Archers go in on the top floor while the melee fighters prepare behind the grated doors. The raiders approach and good lord, that's a lot of them. These little slots on the floor that were intended to let our archers shoot down at the enemies at our door aren't really working. It's letting enemies stack up and start destroying the doors more quickly than I'd wanted. That starts to snowball out of control, so I pull our melee soldiers back so that they don't get swarmed. They can all hold at the top of the stairs. Our archers are still putting out so much damage, but it's not enough. Raiders break through the doors and head up. They push past Herbert because, he's the size of a child. Clement's armor does come in clutch though. Our melee fighters shrug off hit after hit after hit, while our archers fire away into their backs. Cedric gets knocked out on death's door, but the enemies retreat. I think that's 3 fights in a row where Cedric's ended up extremely wounded. Our defenses definitely need some improvements, but at least the armor is looking great. We definitely have lost that fight without Clement's best protecting everyone. I think it's only uphill from here. The defenses just need a couple minor upgrades, the 3.0 version if you will. But instead of focusing on that, it's time for more visual upgrades. In this case, it's the start of a storage area out in front of the tailoring workshop for fine clothes. Why are you unconscious, Winna? Why don't you just go sleep in your bed instead of passing out in the road? Man, the stress of these close fights really gets to her. I try to make sure the tailoring stockpile can take all the clothes that will break down, but I kind of forget to actually check the mark for apparel for like a long time. That little storage area out in front of the tailoring workshop gets a second story and a path up. The spirit distillery we got is now turning dubious booze made from literal vegetable rot into high quality alcohol. It's pretty great, so I might add more of these soon enough. The restitution church is all finished. The scaffolding needs to come down and decorations need to go up for it to be fully complete though. The apparel storage area gets some chests, which will hold high quality summer and winter outfits that we change into, plus a couple of hats. Oh, and the old minimal shrines can get torn down so that people actually use the fancy ones. Another armorer's bench goes in near the stockpile. It might not do much, but it'll save Clement time when he goes to actually break down gear. We need more herbs for lavish meals, booze, and medicine alike, so that herb garden gets a bit of an expansion near the red currants and chicken farm. The main road can also get an expansion to the far side of the area. You're going to notice a pretty hefty wood stockpile here. This is going to be the start of a big building. Probably the most impressive one yet. That means a ton of windows and then a ton of decorations. Thank God the candelabras that'll be filling this place up can't set wooden buildings on fire. Yet. In less grand, but perhaps just as important ongoings, the small graveyard we have will get some herbs planted. These are the closest things we have to flowers, although placing them while planning for where future coffins will go is something else. The big building has some banners and bookcases in. I start to go up to the second floor, but look, I'll be honest, I'm winging this whole thing, and without a plan, I redo and delete this like 3 times, so I'm just not going to show it until at least the first floor is about done. Instead, let's look at a little storage room I put in because I just found out that healing kits need to be stored somewhere cold. Think of this as a chilly medicine cabinet. Although all this building is taking a lot more wood than I thought, so I'm going to add more trees to our base in the back. A bit of that wood will go to the highest tier of shields as we just unlock them. These will be great for Herbert, since he can't handle the strong two-handed weapons just yet. The big building finally gets its first real permanent fixture. Opposite double staircases up. They fit amongst a sea of banners and bookshelves, plus some beams for stability so that the next floor can go in. This one will be just as big as the first floor, but ultimately have a different layout. The bottom floor gets its decorations though. These won't serve a purpose, although come to think of it, I think this place is gonna be just a few chairs and a big table short of being a great hall. But no, if you haven't guessed it by now, this is going to be the grand library that Williams always wanted. All these tables, chairs, and lights are going to be a great place for people to study. And that's not the only big building going in. Honestly, a lot of this episode has just been construction projects, but earlier episodes have covered how we get food, gear, and so on, so I'm skipping over that, plus a lot of the day-to-day management, like checking the booze seller's temperature to focus on what's changing instead. That ends up leaving mostly building projects. The building at the front is accompanied by a bit of a change to our path system, and this even more strangely shaped mining nearby at the front of our base. Some people managed to guess what the churches were even before I decorated them, but I'm guessing that no one will guess what this trench is ultimately for. The building itself gets another wall and some smelting furnaces. That's right, this will eventually be where metal gets handled. So far, it's been taken care of in that ugly nook, but Clement's mastery of the craft deserves more at this point. His success story of starting with low skill and lower confidence, training for years only to pump out failure after failure, and then finally getting to where he's at now has been so much fun to play, write, and show. As if on cue, raiders show up to test his armor. God, that's a lot of them. We're outnumbered 4-1 now, but our defenses are working properly. They can't mob the doors, which works well. In an instant, the safe fight turns dangerous. Theodric takes 3 shots in a single moment, almost immediately knocking him out. Just before the barrage of 30s to his body hit, he took a headshot for 2 damage. That means that Clement's helmet saved the man's life. Theodric didn't even have time to grab armor and almost paid the ultimate price for it. I'll definitely be ensuring that everyone has armor, even if it means they're late. As often as these two tend to each other, I hope that Herbert and Theodric at least get along well. Herbert has to know that Theodric isn't as much of a doctor as he says, but the cynical man has at least shown some heart a few times. It's enough to make Herbert think that being in this community is helping the man grow a bit. Those 2 big raids, 5 days apart from each other, give us more than 60 corpses worth of gear to break down. That means I'm not actually going to be using this new smithing area for a while. At least that'll give us time to finish it though. I know this isn't a mechanic, but I like the idea of making this place well ventilated. That stuffy room we use now must be awful. I mean, it's almost freezing outside, and inside it's a comfortable 77 while the fire is going. I saw it get up to 111 in the summer. This new metal shop will be much better. Mining on the mystery trench finally starts. Fixing this hole in the second building also finally starts. This thing got destroyed by trebuchet fire back in the first episode. The library's 3rd story goes in. This is going to be the top one for now, and I have a certain look in mind for the building, so it'll be a little bit smaller. Floors go in on the outside to let me roof off slivers of the 2nd floor. Not that much actual research will get done in this new library though. William finishes getting us enough books to unlock the very last technology, axes. We could technically sell the books now, but they're gonna go in the new library instead. William deserves it for all of his hard work. The man literally mastered every medieval technology starting from almost nothing in like 2.5 years. The 2nd floor of the library gets decorations. Bookshelves, more tables to study at, candelabras to light it all up, and some banners. You know, editing this, I realized I forgot to include windows. I'll throw those in the next episode. The builders can start moving their research benches over from the current library. Although moving things is a very low priority, so that's going to take a long time. Oh well, they're more for vanity than anything practical at this point. And honestly, William deserves the break. The 3rd story gets decorations. The fact that I'm decorating this one just like I did the first 2 floors does feel a little bit bad. Still, the fact that the layouts are all different keeps it fresh enough for me. I might play around with more unique decorations next episode. Oh, we finally have fine aged wine. That, mead, beer, and ale all fill our cellars to give our colonists all the choice they could want. And the base is looking sick. The library is all planned out, there's still improvements to be made to our defenses and lots of work to be done at the front, plus that mystery trench, but that's it for now. We're really nearing the end game and I'm loving it. Hopefully you'll join me to see more of that transformation next time.